How would you feel if you were in a canoe heading down a river? Pretty peaceful, right? But what if you realized you were headed towards a huge waterfall? And your canoe was leaking? And the river was full of hungry alligators? And you only had one broken paddle? Now you'd probably feel pretty hopeless. That's what this association experienced when they finally looked around and found themselves with 20 years of deferred maintenance, the roof starting to leak with very little reserves in the bank. Fortunately, their board members loved their homes in the association and leaned into the problem. Over the course of a few months, they worked with the homeowners and together developed a creative, multi-part solution that would provide a strong payback in much higher home values in less than 5 years. What did they do to bring hope back into their situation? Follow along and see for yourself. And then let me turn to this portion of the program and turn the microphone over to Elon. We'll talk about our first case study that we call Waking Up to a Problem. Elon.
Hey, thanks, Robert, and hello, everyone. So I want to introduce, this first case study. The name of this association we call Sleepy Villas. The association is a 157-unit townhome association built 1987, so it's 37 years old. Also has 37 buildings, and it has some of the assets here, one pool, and the home values they range from $200,000 to about $275,000 a piece. Now, the interesting thing here is the new management company required a reserve study to be completed, and the reserve study seriously woke the board of directors up to a problem that had been growing right under their eyes, but it was obvious when they began to notice. So let's take a look at the results of the study. The association has $410,000 in reserves. Siding and roofing needed to be replaced now, which was evident by the 20 plus years of deterioration. And the association was 4.4% funded. And remember what you just learned, that nearly 1/3 of associations out there fall into this weak range and have a high incidence of special assessments. So that's not uncommon. What we did here is we recommended large increases in reserve funding and a special assessment. And in this case, it's very difficult for the association to pass a special assessment and catch up from 20 plus years of deterioration. So we're going to take a look at what they did and how they did it by taking a look at our online software tool called UPlanet.
Yeah. Hey, Elon, I just want to jump in on this one. I want to make it clear that Sleepy Villas is what we call this association. It's not the true name. This is a bunch of real people and a real association, so we want to be careful. This was some private consulting that we did for them. But notice that this is a 157-unit townhome association. They had $400,000 in reserves, and until you know what you're really up against, $400-some thousand sounds like a lot of money. You think that's what they were thinking at the time?
Yeah, I think so. And I have this conversation with clients all the time. Some might say, hey, we have $500,000 in reserves or even $1 million in reserves. And my response to, prospective clients or clients we're working with at the start of a study is, hey, we don't really know where you stand percent funded wise until we finish the study. So, you saying you have $410,000, again, it's unknown. And let's do the inspection, put together this funding plan and see what's really going on here.
Yeah, find out if that's a good amount or not, or what that means. Okay, so what's that look like and what did they do? And as Elon suggested, let me pop you into what we call UPlanet. This is from our client center. All our clients are here. This is what a portfolio manager would see, their list of properties. So we've got, this is Sleepy Villas, okay? Here we go. And we look at UPlanet. And back to you, Elon.
Yeah, so before we get into kind of what we did here, let's talk about what happened. So the association had this harsh news that was delivered, significant reserve funding increase from $50 per month to $133.76 per month, which is almost an $84 increase, plus a $7.7 million special assessment, which comes out to about $49,000 a unit.
Wait. $49,000 special assessment when your home is only worth 200 some.
Correct. Yeah, there's it's the pretty large townhome, community, a lot of surface area of siding, a lot of roof surface area. These projects are very, very expensive. And as we know, maintaining real estate's expensive. So yeah, pretty costly. And it's unfortunate, but we're going to show you how they worked out of this and really were able to accomplish the tasks at hand.
Wasn't that big special assessment actually why we did exactly what you're about to walk us through?
Correct. Yeah. And let's take a look at that. So what we did here is I'm going to go through some of these, big ticket items, these big projects, and give you an idea of how much they represent the total deterioration. What's the value of that here? So the first project or first component here is the concrete driveways and walkways. So we phased that out over 10 years, and we did 10% repair replacements every single year. So it's 100% over the next 10 years. And those assets alone equated to 70% of the total reserve funding.
70 or 7?
Or sorry, excuse me, 7%. Okay. 7%. Okay. The next component we'll take a look at are the concrete roadway assets. So again, 10 phases, 10% every phase, and that was 9% of the total reserve funding. And the next we'll take a look at siding project. This is going to be a big one. So what we did for siding.
Okay, so let me catch up with you.
Yeah,
let me catch up. So we have basically a concrete infrastructure there was about 16% of total, and we spread it out so they could do a little bit at a time. So we tried to soften the blow there, but with deteriorated siding, let's see, here's the pool, and here's the building exterior. Okay, here we have the siding, and
so siding, we have 3 phases. So you can see 238,400 gross square feet, and we're going to factor for a third of that square footage for these 3 phases. What you'll see is that the useful life is 40, but the remaining useful life is 0. So we're saying, hey, this will be done all at the same time, but we're giving the board the opportunity to potentially defer the second or third phase. So just kind of setting it up in a way, since we know that cash is an issue, and there's going to, they're going to have to special assess and increase assessments. So that's what we did for siding, and that represents 40.5% of the total funding.
Ouch.
And, yeah, it's a lot. So
this is a lot of siding at this place. Okay?
Correct. Yep. And the next component we're going to take a look at is roofing. So we also set it up in a similar fashion, 3 different phases, a third of the total surface area for each phase, potentially allowing the client to defer the second or third phases. And the roofing equates to 25.5% of the total reserve funding. And to back that up, go to gutters and downspouts. We kind of set that up in, again, a similar way, but we want to make sure that at least push the client in the direction that say that the roofing replacements and the gutter and downspout replacements will occur at the same time, since the contractors, the vendors will be up there replacing the material on the roof surface, the roof deck. They'll have access to the gutters there too. So it's best for economies of scale to get those done at the same time if possible. So we set that up in a similar fashion.
Yeah. Well, Elon, I want to just reinforce something that you've said. When I am scrolling up and down this, there are maybe 50 components here, and it looks like a lot of things, but I like the way you summarized it, that the concrete stuff is about 16%. The siding was 45-ish%?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then the roofing type things are 25-ish%. So if I did the math correctly, that's about 86%, 87% of the entire reserve study is driven by those 3 things.
Correct.
Concrete stuff, the siding stuff, and the roofing stuff. And all of a sudden, the story becomes a lot clearer and able to tell them that, hey, you have 4% of the money you should have at this time based on how old things are. And it's all driven by your concrete stuff, siding stuff, and roofing stuff.
Correct. Yeah, that's pretty common for a lot of the clients we work with. Typically, they'll have 3 to 5 big ticket items that are driving the funding in the reserve study. So this was, it was interesting to see, but I think it was 85%. I didn't comment on the percentage of the total for the gutters and downspouts, but that was 3%.
Yep.
But it was it's a large reserve burden just on those small, few components. And it was all about those. And, it was, to no surprise, our recommendations too much for the board to handle. It's a lot of money.
Yeah. Which is exactly why we kind of broke it into pieces. So they could with you plan it. Well, I don't want to steal your thunder. Tell what they ended up doing. Bunch of town hall meetings, a lot of wringing of hands, but they got to a solution. And
Yeah,
ready for that?
Yes, let's go ahead.
Okay, so what did they do?
Yeah, once these results were delivered to the board and they molded over, they had town hall meetings to relay the results to the rest of the community to really come up with a plan of action. Because once the board gets these results, again, we're talking big numbers here. Even if it was just a large assessment increase and no special assessment, the association needs to know. So they were coming up with a good plan to really drive home the results and how they were going to put together a plan of action to get these projects done. So what they did was they used UPlanet significantly, coming up over a few months of time with a combination of phasing out those projects we had discussed, increasing the reserve funding. They passed a $7,000 per home special assessment and obtained a $6 million 15-year bank loan, which that came out to about $40,000 per home. Now, you may be thinking, again, that's a lot of money, but the expectation here is that home values will nicely support this investment. This association is going from a tired, old, deteriorated state to a property that is nice and really pleasing to look at.
Yeah, I bet over a 5-year point in time, those homes are going to pop up $100,000.
Yeah, I would think so, at least.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic. Now, another thing I like about this is how the board did not just throw their hands up and say, we can't do it, I'm going to sell my home. This board took their job seriously. They were helped by the new management company, and they wrestled with this, and they put the time in. And I really think they're all going to make a whole bunch of money turning that depressed and deteriorated association into a nice place to live.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're really costly projects, and prospective buyers, I understand that's value into the unit they're potentially going to buy.
At Association Reserves, we make the present less stressful and the future more secure. If you want to join us in this mission, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment down below on what you'd like to see us address in a future video. Let's plan for your best future.